Hattie B's 3HL will be here from 3 to 6 as well. So if you come here for lunch, we'll be here. If you stop by for dinner, Slay, Dawn. Actually, I don't know where Dawn is. Lucas, do we know if Dawn is back from on assignment yet? I have not seen Dawn in, it feels like, a month and a half.
I think she was just taking some time off, but I am not sure.
No, that's what that's the bit. She's on assignment, but she's actually taking time off.
I ruined it.
Yes, well done by you. Excellent start to the morning. How are you, bud?
I am great. Going to miss out on some hot chicken today.
Yeah, so how does this work? Because Brett Batchelor is here. CJ and Kirby are wandering around as well. Did you negotiate some kind of terms with Brett? Because we are at a place where they serve food, which would inherently mean that that's something that you would tend to lean towards. So what was the bargain that was struck for him to be able to come out here with me today and you to be back at the studio? What happened?
Well, it was me, really. Brett had no part in it. It was just too much buck of hanging out with you every day at training camp. I went to the highest rung of the corporate ladder here at Cumulus Media, all the way to New York, and so for the love of God, just give me a day off.
Well, joke's on you, because Cumulus Media's headquarters is in Atlanta, so you were calling the wrong office.
That's what happened.
If you don't have too much buck, we got you. 615-737-1045. is the number. We're hanging out here with you at Hattie B's, where you can spend your lunch. They've got great specials on offer for their 10th anniversary. We invite you to come check them out. And, just for the hot chicken in itself, this is something, it's a cult following that Hattie B's has developed. I was talking to some people. Dara had friends in town. By the way, Lucas, a very happy 28th birthday to Dara Epstein.
Happy birthday to him. I don't care. Good luck.
In fact, I very much do care. I love you. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Dara.
Yes, indeed. I called her. She didn't pick up my phone call this morning. It went to voicemail. I sung the happy birthday song. I have not received a text acknowledging the fact that I left her a birthday voicemail, offering to make dinner. There are several other things that I have offered to do because, obviously I'm flying to Baltimore this weekend, so the preseason is going to complicate any kind of weekend birthday celebrations, as is the custom. She has paid no acknowledgement to the fact that I have several times acknowledged the fact that it's her birthday. So
I really hope she texts me back first.
I got $20 that she does. She likes you way. There's a common theme. Like everybody else, she likes you way more than she likes me. It's a tough scene. But speaking of tough scenes, Titan safety depth. What do you make of this? They signed she just texted me, hey, thanks for the voicemail. I have my meeting tonight from 5 to 6:30. Oh, that's right. So I'm not making dinner tonight. Excellent. Things are off to a hot start on the birthday. Anyway, we got Titans safety depth being added to the roster as of this morning. Adam Schefter first on the report. It looks like they will be bringing in former Brown safety Adrian Colbert, a one-year contract per his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, and NFL record, who is the president of Rosenhaus Sports, Robert Bailey. So, this is something, it's not a crazy acquisition. It's not interior offensive line or tackle. It's not wide receiver the way that I think a lot of Titans fans want. But it is a situation where it kind of sends you a message. Hey, so far through the first 2 weeks of camp and ahead of a preseason game, they need to bring in a veteran because what they have behind Kevin Byard and Amani Hooker, it's not good enough right now. Now, I don't think that's an outright indictment of somebody like Theo Jackson, for example, because I think that's where a lot of people's minds kind of jump. He's probably the most identifiable face as far as safety depth is concerned. So looking at this and Adrian Colbert's career, as I pull up Pro Football Reference, he's been in the league since 2017, drafted by the 49ers in the, seventh round pick. He's lasted for a couple of years now, played for two teams last year, the Jets and the Browns, Giants and Dolphins as well across the course of his career. So for him, you're at least getting somebody who's got starts on his resume. He started 22 career games since 2017. He's played in 39. So he's just there as a reserve. He's going to play special teams if he lasts on the roster. But what it does indicate to me is that, yeah, they don't feel good enough about what they have right now behind Kevin Byard and Amani Hooker. I think the Theo Jackson thing is something that have you watched much of him since we've been at practice, Lucas? I know there's a lot of things going on, and we're monitoring a variety of different things. Theo Jackson is somebody who I haven't outright noticed him on the practice field, which isn't a bad thing necessarily, but there haven't been plays made that have caught my attention as well, that, in ways that would be necessary for a player like that who's bottom of the roster and is not guaranteed a roster spot in 2022.
Yeah, that's why Will and I were talking about it during when you were over there covering Titans pressers yesterday. Will did have his eyes on Theo Jackson yesterday, said he was playing a few different spots across the defensive backfield, had one pass breakup in team drills. But you're right, he's not a guy that's really been brought up throughout the course of camp. So
there's no guarantee that he makes the roster in 2022, and he'll have the opportunity to earn additional opportunities and kind of, learn and develop from preseason game to preseason game. Obviously, the first one coming up this Thursday in Baltimore. Titans radio coverage beginning at, does it not begin at 6 o'clock after 3HL? Because I know kickoff is at 6:30.
You ask me too many questions I don't know the answer to.
I feel like we should know this by now. Like I feel like there's, as the first preseason game, I feel like, is there a company-wide memo that I missed? Like somebody should, there should be an update as far as this is concerned. So perhaps we will receive one throughout the course of the next 3 hours. We're here with you at Hattie B's until 1 o'clock on Charlotte Avenue. I maintain there are many great Hattie B's locations in this city, but I maintain that this is the best one as far as how many different elements there are to it. I don't know how to best describe that, but just a variety of different seating options and an incredible menu, of course, and live entertainment. If you want it, we got you. 3HL and us today. Jump in on the conversation if you like, 615-737-1045. Titans, they are on the practice field today, but it is closed to the media. There'll be a bit of a preseason walkthrough, but a competition that we're going to talk about in greater detail. You're going to hear from Mike Vrabel, Coach Dave McGinnis, and Corey Curtis at WKRN News 2 about Dillon Radunz. He's kind of in a fight for his positional life right now, and it's emerged very recently for the Titans' right tackle spot. We'll focus on that a little later on, but coming up next, news on NFL officiating. What is the league asking the officials to pay closer attention to this season? What are they going to emphasize come the regular season? And how much of an effect is it going to have on the preseason competition? Spoiler alert, a lot. We'll talk about it coming up next. Charlotte Avenue. We're here with them celebrating their 10th anniversary, 3HL on after we wrap up our portion of the programming here at Hattie B. So come hang out for lunch or dinner. They would be happy to serve you. It's a great environment out here on Charlotte Avenue, any of their locations. But we're hanging out on Charlotte Avenue today. So I teased the NFL officiating stuff, and that is something that I do want to talk about because I do think that's something you're going to notice on Thursday. You'll notice it in the preseason. I don't know why the NFL decided that they were going to tell the officials to start enforcing this particular rule after the Hall of Fame game, like after the first preseason game. So I don't know if they saw something in the Hall of Fame game that they said, okay, let's kind of buckle down on this specifically for the remainder of each team's 3 preseason contests, but there will be time for that. There was a pretty substantial sports media news story broken last night by John Ourand. He had on Sports Business Journal that Fox, CBS, and NBC are most likely to win Big Ten deals. That would mean that ESPN will be without the conference's football, basketball for the first time in 40 years, which I read this initially, and I said, okay, why didn't CBS, if CBS is going to pony up money for the Big Ten, why are they doing that as opposed to what was the cap, Lucas, on CBS, the number CBS was willing to go to, $300 million total on the package? Uh-oh. I can't hear Lucas. I don't know why I can't hear
on the phone.
Oh, Lucas is on the phone. But looking at the situation for CBS, you thought, okay, why did they kind of cop out on the SEC media rights deal, but then go in for the Big Ten? Because the numbers are similar if John Ourand's reporting is going to be accurate. And looking at this, the Big Ten is expected to be the first college conference to eclipse $1 billion per year in rights fees. Once all this is said and done, it sounds like it's going to set up for CBS to have the 3:30 Big Ten game and then NBC to have kind of a Sunday night football package with the Big Ten in the same way that they do the next day for their NFL deal. That's kind of the way this is structured. It's very much in keeping with the NFL model, which I guess they think plays, and they assume it's going to carry over on Saturdays just the same way that it does on Sundays. But why is CBS paying this much money for the Big Ten and relinquishing the SEC? That's my first question.
Maybe they didn't think it would go this way. I mean, this is inflation, right? I mean, the reports were that CBS topped out at $300 million annually with the SEC. That was their stopping point. They couldn't go higher than that. The SEC said, okay, we're going to go to ESPN. And that deal will start in 2024, and here's CBS trying to catch up.
So if ESPN does not get a package, this is according to Ourand, it would end one of the longest-standing sports media relationships in the business. ABC started carrying Big Ten games in 1966, and ESPN cut its first contract with the conference in 1982. So if ESPN moves on from the Big Ten, you would see, I assume, and I think this may end up benefiting the Pac-12. This may end up giving them kind of renewed life, both them and the Big 12, as they kind of figure out what their conference broadcast packages look like. It's a situation for the Pac-12 where now I would expect ESPN to aggressively pursue those deals. And what does that mean for prolonged sustainability for a conference like the Pac-12? That's exactly the thing that, as far as conference realignment and the parts and pieces, because we've kind of moved away from that in the last probably month, once practices started up for the Titans, once training camp started. We kind of got distracted from the business of college athletics that we have spent a lot of the summer talking about. But for the Pac-12 specifically, I think this really, really bodes well. Now, as you look at the rest of the details on this, and what Ourand is reporting, I think this is a pretty significant loss for the Big Ten schools to not be on ESPN. ESPN, for whatever unbundling is done as far as cable packages are concerned, and how everything else is kind of decentralized in the media environment, ESPN is still the thing that the vast majority of people go to consume sports, even if you're just throwing it on in a bar, in an airport bar. It's always ESPN. It's never, I'm never watching an NBC sports channel. If you go to, there's a Hattie B's in the airport as we broadcast live from Hattie B's today. If you go to Hattie B's in the airport and you're watching the televisions in there, it's going to be ESPN 10 times out of 10. It's just casually on in so many households and so many bars and restaurants across the country. I think it does I don't think Ohio State is going to legitimately feel it immediately, but I think Ohio State, Michigan, over time, over the length of this deal, I think that suffers.
What does it matter, though, if it's increased annual revenue for each school?
Visibility. I think visibility matters.
I don't think Ohio State and Michigan are going to be hurting for visibility.
I think that being off ESPN hurts the visibility of Ohio State athletics writ large. I'm not saying Ohio State football. Like, Ohio State football is going to continue to be in the picture. They're going to continue to be in the playoff picture. But Ohio State athletics generally, because we run this, and rightfully so, that's where the money is, we run all of this through the prism of football. It's not just about the football games, though. It's about everything else that the networks and the conferences bundle into the television packages that would be included that no longer get the opportunity to have their broadcasts on ESPN.
It hasn't really hurt the SEC. I know they've been in the family with the SEC network, but that is carved out for SEC fans. Hasn't hurt the SEC to not be on ESPN and ESPN2, to not have that deal like they do with CBS, which they will have in 2024.
But you're talking about a completely different situation. They bought their own network. Like, they have their own network as a part of the ESPN family of properties. Like, that's still being distributed by what remains at this point. I don't know what the media environment's going to look like in the next 5 or 10 years, but what remains the worldwide leader in sports, it's not just a turn of phrase. That's a thing. Like the ACC network, the Longhorn network, the SEC network, all these different things that ESPN has under the larger umbrella, just because they're not necessarily playing ABC primetime games anymore, I think that visibility hurts. You disagree?
I see what you're saying, and it hurts probably Northwestern, right? Iowa State. But at the highest level of the Big Ten, it's not going to hurt USC. UCLA and Ohio State and Michigan, even Michigan State, are not going to feel a negative end of this. If it works financially for them, it just means more opportunity for them in NIL, in recruiting. I don't know. I think the way things are going in college football, it's the money that's going to dictate things, not the eyeballs, which is a weird thing to say, but if the eyeballs mattered, then I feel like we wouldn't be having a lot of the conversations that we are having, because the eyeballs, the fans, most of them don't want what is taking place to happen. They don't want USC and UCLA in the Big Ten. I understand that you do. I know you want to see USC playing Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State, USC playing those teams week in and week out. But the college football fan that's been following college football for his entire life doesn't want to see that. He doesn't want to watch conferences collapse under themselves and turn into 2 super leagues. So I don't know. They haven't really cared about what the eyeballs think throughout the whole course of this thing.
No. You're conflating eyeballs and fans. That's different. You're conflating eyeballs and fans in ways that I think there needs to be. You need to distinguish, right? Fans and college football loyalists or zealots or whatever, just general college football fans who are married to the way that things have been in certain conferences and different kinds of competitions and geographic necessity kind of dictating what their regional football experience is like on a week in, week out basis. Fans are different than eyeballs. The eyeballs, they're not losing. The eyeballs aren't going anywhere. The difference between what you've described there is fans are going to complain about it. Fans are going to be upset about it. But are they going to watch it less just because they've split up and the conferences are realigning and now, UCLA is going to play Iowa like we've talked about? No, they're still going to watch the games. Fans and eyeballs are a different conversation.
Okay, well, then there you go. Then they're not worried about losing the eyeballs. Fans are still going to find a way to watch USC play Michigan in a Big Ten matchup. Doesn't matter what network it's on. I don't think visibility matters as much when you're always going to have the eyeballs. And we've seen the highest level of network television absolutely take that for granted, as they probably should in these negotiations.
Well, and here's the kind of thing, because here's what I would be curious to know in the negotiations between the conference commissioners, and the television executives and all the different people that go into the decision-making process to what product ends up on our televisions on Saturdays and Sundays in the fall. I would want to know if there was it written into the contract and agreement, okay, you're going to put X amount of games on your streaming platform. ESPN has ESPN Plus. They have the ESPN Plus package. They have a distribution network that is, the vast majority of people listening to this probably have the ESPN app over the NBC Sports app or the CBS Sports app, all these different things, right? It's about the strength and the financials that the Disney Corporation puts behind the ESPN stuff. Now it's all funded by Disney Plus now because they made bank during the pandemic. And now, as opposed to ESPN and theme parks and cruise ships carrying the Disney family of properties, it's Disney Plus out here running the show. So I would be curious to know if the conversations between the conferences and the networks are, okay, we're going to give you these games, but you're also going to have to ramp up your financial backing for all the different distribution platforms that we now lose with ESPN, because it's not just about network television anymore. It's about how many different places can I distribute this across the decentralized media environment that, we're kind of discussing here.
Yeah, and a lot of the reporting has talked about streaming being a big part of these negotiations, and those details are not a part of what we've seen so far. But we haven't even talked about the most important aspect of all of this, with all the networks and the TV money that each conference and school is getting. The most important part of all this is, what are they going to do with the SEC on CBS theme? And do they dare use it on a Michigan-Iowa State game?
I want them to so bad. I want them to, just because people would lose their mind. Who's not in the Big Ten, Kirby? Iowa State is not in the Big Ten. Iowa is in the Big Ten. Yes, this is the music that SEC fans hold so dear. Do you think they would dare put it on a Big Ten broadcast?
Close your eyes and listen to this, and picture a matchup of Northwestern and Iowa State with the warm-ups happening on the field, and Brad Nessler.
Why are you saying Iowa State? They're in the Big 12.
Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry.
Kirby's very upset with you.
I'm sorry, Kirby. Iowa State. Yeah, that is an egregious mistake by me. Okay, picture Rutgers and Iowa warming up with Brad Nessler welcoming you into this theme, getting you ready for the Big Ten on CBS. And tell me that feels right, Kirby. Tell me truthfully that would feel right to you.
Kirby is shaking his head vigorously no.
Absolutely not. I don't mind the Big Ten playing on CBS. We've been there before. But, let's get our conferences straight when we start naming teams.
Wait, we've been there.
That's totally fair.
We've been there. Who are your college football allegiances, Kirby? Ohio State. We talked about this yesterday.
I like Ohio State,
Okay.
and I love Vanderbilt because, they're the underdog constantly.
Sure. In his, but Kirby's wearing a Vanderbilt ball cap today that is the old logo. I don't think I've seen Kirby sporting any of the new Vanderbilt athletic attire as he says things off the mic that nobody on the radio audience can hear. Excellent work.
I am the loser of the weekend for talking like Iowa State's a Big Ten team.
For like 20 minutes. It went on. Kirby tried to stop you several times. I don't know why it took him.
How many times did I say that?
Several times.
Conference realignment.
I counted 3.
I think 11. I know I cut a cigarette break off to get back in here because you referred to them as being a Big Ten school.
Oh, this is an egregious mistake by
Kirby
me.
sprinted in here in a haze of cigarette smoke just to yell at the microphone.
I think I'm just going to call it quits and head to the house.
No, you damn well won't, because I'm not. Because I'm here till 1, and so you're here till the very, very least 1 o'clock, Kirby.
Oh, in my defense,
I'm going to
nothing
chain you to
makes
that
sense.
remote setup you have there.
Nothing makes sense in college football conference alignment anymore.
Not here lately. Brett Batchelor, who's hanging out on site with us at Hattie B's on Charlotte Avenue, where you should come for lunch today, or dinner, because 3HL is going to be hanging out here from 3 to 6, as well as our show. He's just handed me his phone. Andy Katz, who I believe is Andy Katz of the Big Ten Network now? I think he was doing stuff for the NCAA. Host for the NCAA social series. I don't know what that means. NCAA.com. Okay, very good. That's a good example, Lucas. What happened to Andy Katz after he got off ESPN? You have no idea where the hell Andy Katz is anymore.
That's fair. I mean, he's always been the college basketball guy. I think he was doing interviews for the NCAA.
Andy Katz went from doing a bracket with George Bush and Barack Obama to somewhere on NCAA.com, in the ether of the internet. Anyway, he says, reacting to John Oran's report the Big Ten men's basketball teams can still appear on ESPN networks in non-conference multiple team events. So like the Big Ten ACC Challenge, if that's an ESPN property, I'm pretty sure, then those broadcasts would still originate on ESPN, allowing the basketball teams, at the very least, to participate on nationally televised broadcasts that ESPN holds the rights to. Neutral site games not in Big Ten territory. The fate of the ACC Big Ten Challenge is unknown currently, he adds. Only way is a split with ESPN taking the ACC home games and another network getting the Big Ten home games. So thank you for Brett for providing that context, courtesy of Andy Katz of NCAA.com. So that stuff, that's the kind of stuff that's being worked through right now. It is really, really granular. But I think people are more interested in this stuff than at any time that I can remember, about the ins and outs of sports media business and who gets what on national television and who is, who's talent swapping for who when you have Joe Buck and Troy Aikman essentially being traded from Fox to ESPN for a Big Ten game. And now how does that get affected? Because ESPN doesn't have the Big Ten game anymore that Fox just traded Joe Buck for.
Well, now it has a direct impact on the fan. Like, we used to not care about these things, but now that's what's determining who your school is going to play in conference play. That's what's determining the fact that you're a Tennessee fan and you're going to be playing Texas and Oklahoma in a few years in conference play because of television money and what networks are doing with these conferences. So because of the role that it's playing now in scheduling and conference realignment, fans are kind of forced to care about it.
Well, yeah, because now I got to explain to my grandmother how she can watch Notre Dame Irish games on something called Peacock, and I have to lay out the ins and outs of no, Grandma, not the animal that makes the annoying very caw sound or whatever a peacock makes. The peacock has an incredibly annoying.
Robert can do it very well.
He has done. That's right.
Yeah.
Maybe Robert will appear in the Zoom from the shadows and just quickly do a peacock call and then sprint out.
He told us he purchased a peacock for his father, who is apparently known to hate peacocks.
I believe did he actually purchase the peacock, or did I can't remember that detail of the story, or was he dealing in black market peacock sales?
I think it was part of the peacock black market.
Okay, excellent. I'm glad. Perhaps we'll track down Robert and suss the details out ourselves. But yeah, I got to explain to my grandmother that Notre Dame games, or at least a couple of Notre Dame games, are on something called Peacock now, and she has no idea how the hell to get there. And that's going to be a huge frustration for people of a different generation as they try to figure out, okay, where is my football team playing on a recurring basis? Where can I find the broadcast that I've always associated with mainstream network television? And that time is, slowly fading.
Was that just a generalized example, or does Grandma Reising actually love the Fighting Irish?
Well, it would be Grandma Donahue. She's an Indiana Hoosiers basketball fan and a Notre Dame football fan, as is every person in the state. There are no Indiana Hoosier football fans. There are only Indiana Hoosier basketball fans and Notre Dame football fans. That's how it goes. I
did not know that there was college football roots that run deep in your family.
Just her. She's the only one she's the only one in my family. Outside of me, because I work in sports, she's the only one in my family that I know discernibly cares about sports on a regular basis. She's a diehard. She's very aggressive as a fan as well. She's still very, very upset that the Simon Scott family paid like $20 million to rename Assembly Hall in Bloomington, where she maintains it should still be Robert Montgomery Knight Assembly Hall, even as Bobby won't show up to games anymore. Anyway. 615-737-1045, broadcasting live from Hattie B's on Charlotte Avenue, getting ready to ramp up here things for them. And certainly you can come out and hang out, get some great food for their 10th anniversary celebration, which is the reason that we are broadcasting live here today. What did you just say in my ear?
We got a giveaway to do for winners and losers of the sports weekend.
Okay, we'll give you some stuff. Well, what are we giving away?
A pair of Red Hot Chili Pepper tickets at Nissan Stadium.
Love that for us. Okay, love that for you too. Give us your winners and losers of the sports weekend. We'll send you to Red Hot Chili Peppers at Bridgestone. Or wait, no, Nissan Stadium or Bridgestone? Nissan Stadium. Yeah, of course the Chili Peppers are playing at Nissan Stadium. Kirby's very excited about the idea of concerts outside. I'm not sure why. Maybe I'll find out during the break. Winners and losers next.
Super
Tuesday, Charlotte Avenue is the location that we are broadcasting from. Our 3HL and us today, 3 to 6 is when you can hang out with 3HL. We'll be here until 1 o'clock. All right, winners and losers of the sports weekend. We got tickets to the Red Hot Chili Peppers concert this Friday at Nissan Stadium. Not just the Chili Peppers. You got the Strokes and Thundercat opening up for them as well. All you got to do to win a pair of tickets to the concert this Friday is give us your winners and losers of the sports weekend. 615-737-1045 is how you do that. 615-737-1045. You jump in. Lucas will pick up the phone. We'll get to screening. And in the meantime, go ahead and start the circus music, buddy. Let's do some winners and losers. Real easy. Who had a good weekend? Who had a bad weekend? It's real simple. You don't got to get cute. You just stick with the easiest thing in front of you, like I'm going to, because I'll start the proceedings with my winner of the sports weekend, Aaron Rodgers. Now, I don't know what conversations were being had by Jason and Ramon yesterday morning that I was getting tweets about. Apparently, their opinions on Aaron Rodgers were terrible, and I'm not aware of what those opinions are. Perhaps I'll go check out the J. Mart and Ramon podcast, wherever it is that you get your podcast, and I'll see if their opinions are, in fact, indefensible. Because Aaron Rodgers is doing all right now. Aaron Rodgers was on a podcast. Let me see if I can find the proper podcast to give credit. The Aubrey Marcus podcast last week. He talked about how he went on an ayahuasca retreat to Peru in 2020 before the third of his fourth MVP season. Now, if you're unfamiliar with ayahuasca, it is defined as a psychoactive beverage used by natives in South America, often for religious, ritualistic, or medicinal purposes. Have you heard the audio on this, the podcast interview that he did? Do you have that available for people to listen to? I would like to hear Aaron Rodgers talking about his spiritual experience on the Aubrey Marcus podcast, please.
A lot of the human spirit was really shining beautifully in that moment.
That obviously got replaced by a lot of fear and uneasy and death and different things. But I really feel like that set me on my course to be able to go back in to my job and have a different perspective on things, and then to be way more free at work, as a leader, as a teammate, as a friend, as a lover. And I really feel like that experience paved the way for me to have the best season of my career.
So I was hoping that you had the longer clip where he's talking about, thousands of hands being, on his body all at once and kind of going back to his ancestors. That's the far more trippy part.
Well, yeah, I do have that, but I didn't want to play a full 2-minute clip here when we have calls to get to. But okay. We do have that we can play later on. All but right. I did want to reference the last part about being a better teammate, a better football player, a better lover. Okay.
They're psychoactive drugs. Listen, I go back and forth on Aaron Rodgers. He's the winner of the sports weekend, though. Because you know what the NFL said? The NFL said on Monday that it wouldn't have triggered a positive test result. Aaron Rodgers can sip all the ayahuasca tea that he wants and still play quarterback at an MVP level. That is the winner of the sports weekend.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You know what else happened? He went back-to-back MVPs.
That's right.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's right. Keep drinking that ayahuasca tea, buddy.
My winner of the sports weekend is Serena Williams. The legendary tennis player announced today that she is retiring after the upcoming U.S. Open. A quick list of Serena's accolades: 73 singles titles, 23 Grand Slam singles titles, 14 Grand Slam doubles titles, 4 Olympic gold medals, and $94 million in prize money. Not just one of the best tennis players of all time, one of the best athletes of all time. Serena Williams is my winner of the weekend.
So she shared her thoughts about retirement, about her future. There's a first-person essay that she wrote for Vogue. Vogue.com is where it was published. And, basically suggesting it seemed less definitive. Did you read the Vogue.com piece?
Haven't gotten a chance.
Yeah, I went through. I didn't have a chance to read the full thing, but I read through it, and it was more kind of suggesting that the U.S. Open could be her final tournament, and still admitting that she had mixed feelings about her next chapter, and she doesn't like using the word retirement. So I would be careful. I would be careful saying that Serena Williams has retired, because it could be like a Tom Brady situation where we thought he was retiring. And no, you idiots, we just all read the statement wrong. He's saying goodbye to Tampa Bay because he's going to go be part owner of the Miami Dolphins in a year and a half or whatever the case may be, as Stephen Ross had an unprecedented level of tampering with the Patriots and now Buccaneers quarterback. So I would read the Serena thing before I said Serena is officially retiring after the U.S. Open because she doesn't like the word, which means she's trying to not make it feel quite so permanent.
That is interesting because every single news headline today has been Serena announces her plans to retire after the U.S. Open.
I think that sports media is doing, myself included, or I will include myself obviously in the category. I think that we are doing the thing that we often accuse people of doing, which is read the headline on the Vogue thing and then not read the full article that she wrote herself on Vogue.com. Zach Lyons, by the way, Lucas has texted me, says, Lucas is cheating. Williams retired today, not the weekend. How can you win the weekend that way? Typically, the cutoff is Monday night, so I think you have cheated.
Yeah, I mean, we do that because during football season, Monday Night Football counts as our sports weekend. So, yes, it is cheating.
Winners and losers of the sports weekend. Let's get a call in for the opportunity to win a pair of tickets to Red Hot Chili Peppers this Friday. Let's start with Matt in Spring Hill. Who you got, Matt?
Hey, Buck, how you doing, man? Big fan of the show.
Thanks, buddy.
Hey, my loser of the weekend is certainly the Chicago Bears.
Oh.
Not only for the fact that our daddy is still allowed to do drugs and beat us every year in Aaron Rodgers.
Our dad.
He said our daddy. Yep. He didn't say our dad like Lawan. He said our daddy, and he's right.
Correct, our daddy. And as well, the Chicago Bears, as Roquan just requested a trade. Pay that man whatever he wants. He's the best linebacker in the NFL. So that's all I got for you. Thanks, man.
It's such a depressing state of affairs. Losers of the sports weekend for me are Bears fans because, yes, as Matt just detailed, and by the way, 615-737-1045, give us your winners and losers of the sports weekend. You will be entered for the chance to win, the best one rather, will win a pair of tickets to Red Hot Chili Peppers at Nissan Stadium this Friday. Roquan Smith did put out a statement saying that he had requested a trade because he feels that the organization has tried to take advantage of him. And he feels that he cannot trust the people that he is currently in negotiations with about the contract. He's a really, really good young linebacker, and he already wants out. Roquan Smith hasn't been there that long. I think, was he a 2019 first-round pick?
Oh, let me check. Yeah, it has not been long. I mean, he's made back-to-back second-team All-Pros. It might just be a matter of the Bears just don't want to pay an off-ball linebacker no matter who it is.
But he's not just an off-ball linebacker. Like, if you're – and Matt Eberflus – It's curious because that's he's now the head coach of the Bears. He's the 2018, Brett Batzler tells me off to the side as we broadcast here at Hattie B's. By the way, Brett told me today he hasn't had Hattie B's yet. So we're going to, I'm going to buy Brett his first Hattie B's so that we can, correct this egregious error. Loser of the sports weekend, Brett Batzler, for not having had Hattie B's until we physically do a broadcast here.
Dear loser.
But Roquan Smith is a 2018 first-round draft pick. Now asking out of the Bears. Bears fans going through it, man. Who's your loser, Lucas?
Loser of the sports weekend is Chris Sale. Red Sox starter,
man.
Jeff Passan of ESPN reporting today that Chris Sale broke his right wrist in a bike accident and underwent season-ending surgery on Monday. So amid a fractured rib cage, a broken pinky, and now this, Sale threw only 5.2 innings this season after posting over 42 innings in 2021. I think it was just a few weeks ago, that video of him in a AAA clubhouse just going nuts, having an absolute fit of rage. And then a few weeks later, in a bike accident, his season comes to an end. Been a tough ride for Chris Sale in 2022.
I do still stand with Chris Sale about blaming the organization for having cameras in the locker room for, having that footage be leaked to the public. Why would you have cameras in the clubhouse? That's just asking for terrible, terrible things to be.
Yeah, nothing good can come of that.
No, there is a terrible idea, and that things that you would likely be legally held responsible for. That's on you. You've played yourself. Aaron is in Spring Hill, also in Spring Hill. A lot of callers in Spring Hill today for the chance to win Red Hot Chili Pepper tickets. Who are your winners and losers of the weekend, Aaron?
How's it going? I would say winners. I'm going to go against Serena Williams. I think all the other female players are winning right now because they don't have to play against her anymore. Losers, I'm going to have to go with Pete Rose and the comments he made about the stuff that happened 55 years ago and calling the reporter babe. I think that was just dumb.
Oh, I haven't seen the headline. Thank you for the call, though, Aaron. I'll pull that up here as we sit here at Hattie B's on the Pete Rose situation because you don't want to. The behavior, you have to be aware of your surroundings. Oh no, it's more serious than just the calling of a female reporter babe. Dismisses questions over statutory rape claims.
Ugh.
In return, ooh, okay. Perhaps we need to be a little bit more buttoned up on the details of this before we get into it. 615-737-1045 for the chance to win a pair of tickets to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, winners and losers of the sports weekend. In fact, let's take a beat. We can get to more phone calls coming up next, and I want to go through the details on this Pete Rose thing because that sounds kind of icky. I want to talk about that. Live from Hattie B's, I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
Good morning from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Titans have signed a safety in Adrian Colbert on a one-year deal. According to Adam Schefter, the 28-year-old was a seventh-round pick in 2017, spent last season with the Browns. This will be his 9th NFL team. No media at Titans practice today as the team gets ready to travel to Baltimore for the first preseason game of the year on Thursday. It's been an interesting battle at the wide receiver position as guys push to make the roster. And quarterback Ryan Tannehill was asked yesterday about second-year wideout Racey McMath's impact so far in training camp.
I think he's playing with a lot of confidence. He's big, he's strong, he's physical. He's been here for a couple of years now, so he knows what to do and knows what we expect of him. And he's making the plays. At the end of the day, you got to go out there, you got to line up, beat the guy across from you, make the play. And he's doing that.
Titans will be off tomorrow for a travel day. Around the NFL, Chicago Bears linebacker Roquan Smith has requested a trade, putting out a statement saying the Bears' focus has been, quote, trying to take advantage of me. Smith has been a second-team All-Pro linebacker in each of the last 2 seasons. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. Bring me some chicken.
Live out here today. 3HL will be here from 3 to 6. Obviously, I'm here with you through the lunch portion of your day. Do you have a favorite, Lucas, on the menu? Because I'm gonna give Brett Batchelor my credit card here in a second. I'm gonna have him go buy something. Not for you, for him, because he's never eaten at Hattie B's before.
Yeah, I'm always between the hot and the damn hot. It just depends on how I'm feeling that day.
See, I'm a coward when it comes to hot chicken, and I think I've been scarred by my scoreboard experience with the Hiroshima hot chicken. I have not had hot chicken since.
Really? You haven't had it once since then?
It gives me the shakes to think about it.
So, does it give you the shakes or something else?
Both. Yes.
I thought you were going to say something else.
Yes, well. What, I scare you? Settle down. Oh, yes. Indeed. So, broadcasting out here at live at Hattie B's. We've got winners and losers of the sports weekend we'll get to here in just a second for the opportunity to win a pair of Red Hot Chili Peppers tickets this Friday at Nissan Stadium. We're also going to talk Vols with Wes Rucker. He's going to be here with us in about 20 minutes. Vols having their stadium scrimmage today. A lot of conversations coming out about the wide receiver competition opposite Cedric Tillman. Eligibility for some and lack of confirmation on eligibility for others. And then questions about the offensive line as they kind of work their way through what this roster will look like for the University of Tennessee here in not much time at all. Lucas, when is their game against Ball State? That's coming up very, very soon, yes?
Yeah, it's Thursday before Labor Day weekend, so September 1.
Excellent. Football taking place. Always exciting. Brandon Rushing says, Hattie B's, well, I don't know if I can read that on the from the YouTube chat, but he's saying basically the Hattie B's experience, everything that follows after is real. 615-737-1045. Quickly,
worth it.
What?
Said worth it.
Oh, without question, worth it. As is evidenced by the lunch crowd. This Hattie B's on Charlotte, where we are broadcasting, has been open for 5 minutes, and the place is already packed. So you know that this is the place to go. Hattie B's always good, especially for lunch or dinner today. So we're going to get into some Tennessee Volunteer stuff, but I want to read this story about Pete Rose because a caller brought it up. Pete Rose is he's returned to the field in Philadelphia for the first time since receiving a lifetime ban from baseball in 1989. He was a part of the celebration of the 1980 Philadelphia Phillies World Series championship team at Citizens Bank Park. He got a standing ovation. He is being accused of sexual assault allegations, Pete Rose is, and his presence at the ballpark sending a negative message. 2017 is when the allegations did pop up. He was asked about it, asked by a female reporter about it, and he said, "No, I'm not here to talk about that. Sorry about that. It was 55 years ago, babe." I mean, come on.
Yeah, gross at every level.
I mean, come on. What are we doing here? From top to bottom. And I know that there's got to be some things that are accounted for over the course of time, but that's not something that's not something that Pete Rose gets to age himself out of at 81 years old. Like, that's not something that you can get by with, especially the dismissal of, "That was a long time ago, babe." Get out of here with that. Anyway, so those are the details on the story that Aaron, who called in earlier, brought up. I just wanted to address that quickly off the top because obviously a situation to monitor. But now, for the University of Tennessee and their preseason expectations, there was a coaches poll released yesterday, I do believe, if my information from Lucas is correct. The college football coaches poll for the 2022 season, preseason coaches poll, not the AP poll, which of course determines the rankings until the rankings don't matter after the college football playoff takes over, which is kind of weird. But now in the college football coaches poll, according to USA Today, Alabama 1, Ohio State 2, Georgia 3, Clemson 4. You've got Notre Dame, Michigan, A&M, Utah, Oklahoma, and Baylor rounding out the top 10. Notably on here, Southern California, USC, with Lincoln Riley as their head coach. After a 4-win season, they are 15th in the coaches poll. Texas, 18th, with theoretically Quinn Ewers at quarterback under Steve Sarkisian and, riding the hype train of Arch Manning. Arkansas at 23, Ole Miss at 24. But do you know who I don't see with 25 being Houston? I don't see the Vols there, bud. I don't think people are going to be happy about that at all. That the idea that, let's see, Kentucky at 21, Arkansas at 23, Ole Miss at 24, Texas at 18, Miami with a new coaching staff, a quarterback who I really like, Miami at 17, Southern Cal at 15, but no Tennessee anywhere on the coaches' preseason poll. The lack of respect.
Yeah, I saw where if you tally up the votes, Tennessee received the 28th most. So if you're doing that, Tennessee would have been ranked 28th by the coaches in the preseason. A lot of Vol fans are going to be needlessly upset about this.
Needlessly? The idea that Tennessee is not as good or better than Texas this year, that is laughable. I think that's appropriately upset.
That's fine, and you can have an argument, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is a preseason poll. This is a coach's preseason poll. College football coaches are worried about a whole lot more right now than deciding who they're going to rank in their preseason top 25. I imagine for most of them, this is just checking off a box saying, yeah, well, Alabama's going to be really good. Well, Ohio State's going to be really good. Well, Michigan won the Big Ten last year, so they'll be a top 10 team. I'm not putting a lot of stock in this. And in week 5, the rankings that you have after week 1 are completely scattered and don't matter. So I think people are going to be needlessly upset about this because they have no impact whatsoever on what's going to happen throughout the course of the season.
Are you alleging that college football coaches don't take the preseason poll seriously?
I am alleging exactly that, yes. The college football coaches are not sitting down at their computer saying, all right, Becky, no calls. Don't take any calls. Close out the next 3 hours of my schedule. I got to focus on this coaches poll. Who is number 18?
I have to approach this with great importance.
Miami or Texas at 17. Ooh, I have.
That's it.
The 5-star recruit on the line? Now tell him to hold.
Fair enough. We're going to talk about this with Wes Rucker, who's going to join us, of course, writing at GoBowls247.com, doing some analysis for CBS Sports as well. We'll talk to him about the things that he saw at the Vols Stadium scrimmage at Neyland Stadium. What's the progress on Neyland Stadium, by the way? What's the situation for them? Because obviously they didn't have an orange and white game. because of the construction taking place at Neyland in this offseason. Where are we with a progress report?
Well, obviously it'll be open for that opener against Ball State. I have seen the new Jumbotron in the south end zone, so it looks good. It's very nice for Tennessee fans to not just have half the stadium have access to the Jumbotron and be able to see replays and stuff. If you're sitting in the south end zone, it's really tough to have to like crane your neck up to look at the Jumbotron. So it looks good. They've just essentially added another Jumbotron on the other side of the stadium, and it will be open by September 1st.
Can we talk about at some point this week, by the way, the fact that I don't think the new Titan Stadium is happening anytime, in the near future, based on the way that that's been completely derailed. And I think the way that it was kind of rushed on the front end as far as the World Cup bid was concerned. There have been some significant derailments in the new Titan Stadium plans that we have not talked about since training camp opened up and there's been actual football practice taking place in front of us. There will be time for that, though. In the meantime, we're going to talk to Wes Rucker, Go Vols 24/7. He has just wrapped up, I believe, Josh Heupel's press conference off this stadium scrimmage that Tennessee took part in today, so we'll get some good Tennessee information from Wes Rucker. Coming up next, live from Hattie B's on Charlotte Avenue, where we are celebrating their 10th anniversary. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
here we are.
That's it. Listen, I that's the best possible and most relatable excuse that you could have given for people to understand. Because I mean, I think it helps the aesthetics every once in a while. You have a little background noise, a little ambient noise, but the dog can certainly derail things quickly.
Well, we got that in 8-month-old, man. So we make it work.
No doubt about it. Wes here with us on 104.5 The Zone. So, scrimmage in Neyland Stadium concluded today. The biggest observation or takeaway for you was what?
It's hard to say really because we go by what we hear instead of what we actually see with these scrimmages because coaches for years now have kept us so far away from these things that we could barely even hear them if we tried, but I think they liked what they saw, which is a good thing from Heupel and from some other people I've heard from. They liked what they saw. They saw good competition. I think there's better team speed on this team than there was last year, which is nice. It seems like there's more quality competition at several positions, which is important, because, one of the oldest football adages ever is ironing, sharpening, iron sharpens iron. Last year, Tennessee didn't have a lot of iron sharpening iron. They had a lot of places where you had iron, but then there wasn't much behind it. So they've had to build more quality depth, and that's an ongoing process. I do think they're getting closer, and now when you look at places, you don't see too many spots and go, there's not a lot of options there. They usually have several options in those spots now.
What is one spot where you would still kind of look at it side-eye and be like, not the options there, not good enough based on, the acquisition of players, transfer portal success or lack thereof? Where is the kind of highlight for you as to the work that still needs to be done?
That's a good question, and I think it's a pretty simple answer for me. It's in the secondary. There's just areas where, last year they were so hit or miss there, and that happened despite having, I guess, a second-round pick and a sixth-round pick, both in that secondary. And so now they're replacing both those guys. I mean, the safeties, those seniors have played a lot of football at Tennessee, but last year neither one of them played very well. And so those are veterans. They're going to be relied on. They've got to get the job done. If they don't, then you got guys like a couple of Nashville kids, like a Wesley Walker and Andre Turrentine, a couple of kids who came into the transfer portal who could step in and play. And I think Walker might be the starting nickel anyway going into the season. At corner, there's some options there. Warren Burrell needs to have a bounce-back year, but they're going to miss Alontae Taylor. They got 4 or 5 guys who could do it, maybe even more than that, but none of them are proven. And I think they're going to be better at rushing the pass. I think the linebackers are going to be okay. Maybe not great, but okay. I really like the young kids, but maybe they're not quite ready yet. So I point to the secondary. If you look anywhere on the team and go, need more there, I would say that. Because I like the running backs, even though there's not a lot of depth there. I think the ones they have are okay. The secondary is where I have concerns.
Especially when you talk about, potentially being better about rushing the pass or disrupting the quarterback, the best way to cover up deficiencies or inadequacies or youth and inexperience in the secondary is to be able to affect the quarterback. What is it about this group from last year to this year under Tim Banks makes you feel better about their ability to affect the quarterback that way?
Well, I think the easiest place to start is that, last year Byron Young did some good things despite having very little idea what he was doing. This kid is an absolutely freakish athlete. He comes off the edge. He's got several moves now. He's big, strong. He's already a full-grown man. This guy, if he stays healthy, could have just an absolutely dynamic year off the edge. And then they've moved Tyler Barron from one end to the other because they had kind of him and Young splitting reps last year at Leo. Now they've moved Barron to the other side over to the strong side. I think that's given them a couple more options with both those guys coming off the edge, maybe one dropping back, one rushing the passer. And I think they're going to miss Matthew Butler because, of course, they would.
Yeah.
But I like what they've got up there in terms of it's not like just across the board, just the whole front four is just nasty, but they've got a lot of bodies and they've got a lot of experience. And I really do think you never want to put the cart before the horse too much, but I really have a feeling that Byron Young is going to have an absolutely enormous year if he stays healthy. He just looks, and everything you hear about him, it feels like the guy.
Wes Rucker here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Follow him on Twitter. I'm sure if you're a Vols fan, you are already, but just in case. at WestRucker247 on the socials for all of your Vols information. Competition at wide receiver outside of Cedric Tillman, who was last year's breakout candidate, if not Hendon Hooker at the most important position on the football field. Jalen Hyatt, Jimmy Callaway, Squirrel White. What are we kind of seeing from the players that are able to get these reps, and kind of who projects to be the Cedric Tillman 2022 candidate?
That's a really good question, Buck. I think right now, if you're putting money anywhere and saying this is maybe the safest of the bets, it might be Jalen Hyatt. I think he's a kid who you saw. I mean, anyone who has a true freshman is going to get 2 touchdowns against Alabama is a pretty good football player. But last year he just kind of struggled to buy into the concept. You know, so many players on that team last year got noticeably better under Heupel and his staff. One guy who took a step back was Hyatt. You know, he kind of maybe some maturity issues. Things worked better on the offense when they plugged in those veterans, and he didn't play as much. But he's a guy now who I think he saw last year, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to play. I want to be a dude. So he's put on some weight. He's so fast. He's a kid who I think in the slot could be really, really good. And then we'll see about the other spot. I think there's a bunch of options there. Brew McCoy, my boy Jason Swain, as I heard when you had when you were waiting to bring me on, I think he was right about Brew McCoy. I think Brew McCoy's got to go prove some stuff. He is physically enormous. I mean, this kid looks like a linebacker, runs like a wide receiver. But to me, it looks like that hit might still be bothering him a little bit, or whatever was hurting him at USC. He's had to get stretched out a little bit. He looks a little tight, maybe a little stiff. I think it's going to be fine, but there's some things he's going to have to work through as camp progresses. But he's already making plays. It's just he's a kid who I think could be playing a lot better than he is, and I think he will play better down the road for Tennessee this season. But I think there's a couple other guys that people forget about. I mean, you know, Jimmy Holiday is a guy who almost nobody talks about. Came to Tennessee as a quarterback, moved to wide receiver, just like Jawan Jennings. This kid is a good football player. He's a he's fast, he's quick, he's got good hands, he's learning how to play the position. Jimmy Callaway's a really talented kid. He just needs to kind of mature a little bit. Walker Merrill's a kid I like. You know, another Nashville area kid.
Right.
There's a bunch of kids. Ramel Keaton's still there. They got guys there.
I did a bunch of Walker Merrill's games.
Heupel and his staff are there. I am not worried about them putting points on the board. They are going to put points on the board. And I'm not saying it's just a foregone conclusion that bank it, they're scoring 40-plus a year. They're going to put points on the board. I think more of the concerns are on defense. But, you know, still, you got to go out and prove it.
Lucas Panzica back in the studio. You did a bunch of Walker Merrill's games, correct?
Yeah, Brentwood High School was the best player on that team by far, the highest level of football in Tennessee, at least in Middle Tennessee, one of the best public school regions in the mid-state. A punt returner, played inside, played outside, was a leader on that team, and he flashed a little bit toward the end of last season. But, Wes, I am really curious about what his role will look like this season. Let's say Brew McCoy is eligible. I still wonder how Walker Merrill will kind of fit in as a shifty guy, really good with the ball in his hands, and whether he'd get more of those reps inside or outside.
Well, you know, Merrill, the thing they actually like the most about Merrill, Lucas, is that he can play all the positions. You know, last year he mostly played one spot. This year they're moving him around some. And I'll tell you, Merrill's quick. He's not what you would call like a 4-3 guy or anything like that, but he's plenty quick. And I'll tell you what he is. He's a really good leaper. He goes up and high points the ball really well. He's got great body control. I don't know what his vertical is exactly, but I imagine it's pretty good because that's an explosive athlete. I'd like to see him dunk a basketball. He's a good athlete, and he's a guy who I think will have a role on this team. I don't know what it's going to be, but he is going to play on this team, and I think he's going to be a productive player at Tennessee. It's just that right now, you know, you got guys like Tillman. You don't want to take Tillman off the field. So you got a couple other spots there. One of them looks like Jalen Hyatt's. The other one kind of up in the air right now. So there's position battles out there at wide receiver. Tennessee does not want to play mostly 3 or 4 guys, though. They would like to play 5, 6, 7 wide receivers, but the guys got to go earn it or they're not going to play it. So I think Merrill is going to have a good career at Tennessee. I think he's going to have some catches this year. I don't know exactly what that role will be, but I do like him as an athlete. I think he's an explosive leaper. He can play a lot of different spots. He can help on special teams. I think he's going to have a nice career at Tennessee.
Wes Rucker is here with us on 104.5 The Zone as we continue our broadcast live from Hattie B's on Charlotte Avenue today for their 10th anniversary. Wes, who the hell is playing left tackle?
That's a great question. Right now, they went into camp, and there's, it was either Jeremiah Crawford or it's Gerald Mincy or it was maybe Dane Davis.
Former walk-on.
I think with respect to Dane Davis, I think he's a guy who's going to play different spots up front. I think they're zeroing in more on Crawford and on Mincy. And I'm really interested to see once they break down the film from the scrimmage who performed better. Because, in talking to Jerome Carver and some others over there, and some of the coaches, like they feel like Crawford in some ways maybe is a little bit better as a pass pro guy, but that Mincy's kind of a big brawling mauler who can really help in the run game. So they're trying to piece together. They'll rotate him if they have to, but they don't want to have to do that because Darnell Wright was insistent that he really wanted to go back to right tackle for his final season. He thinks he's a better prospect there, and they're going to let you play where you want to play. So that opens up left tackle unless there's an emergency and they just have to move right back. So I think, Dane Davis would be like the oblique option where the other two don't work and they just say, okay, vet, go figure it out. But Crawford and Mincy are the guys. If I had to guess, right now, and I haven't seen any film from today's scrimmage. I do not know. My guess throughout this process has been that probably Crawford will start the season there, and then maybe Mincy takes over at some point during the season if things don't go well. But again, usually after that second scrimmage is when things really, really start to kind of get locked in, and they just finished the first one like 45 minutes ago.
Mincy, the Florida transfer, worth keeping an eye on.
Correct.
At the left tackle position. Lynn J. Dixon, Josh Heupel officially confirmed that he is eligible to participate, having transferred in here very recently. You mentioned you like what they have at the running back position. I think Jabari Small, just as somebody who operates more than anywhere else in the NFL and kind of talking to scouts about Small as a prospect, Wes, people love him, and I think a lot of people are curious to see what this Tennessee offense can help him do and what he can do within it as we kind of go throughout the course of the season. But with Lynn J. Dixon and the other players, what do you like about the collection of players that they have, even if the numbers aren't quite there?
I'll tell you what I really like is how they've upgraded the speed at the running back position. Last year Jalen Wright was never able to really, because of that, the toe and the foot stuff, he was never able to quite show just how fast he is. In camp last year, I saw that kid kind of open up on the accelerator, and he can fly. That kid can run. I think they get him back healthy in maybe a week or so. It'll be good for him to get the reps. I think he's a guy that they have some plans for to be in the offense. And then the freshman, Williams Thomas is a good, solid player. I think he's going to have a good career at Tennessee. He's strong. He's big. He's physical. You just see him as an all-around kind of player who's going to be a good football player. And then Dillon Sampson, the freshman from Louisiana, I mean, he can run. This kid broke all Eddie Lacy's rushing records there in Louisiana. He's bigger than you think he is. He's got a lot of ability. I think he's going to help them in some special package stuff. And then the wild card, the ultimate wild card is Dixon. I mean, this is a kid who, if this is the Lynn J. Dixon who started his career at Clemson, that's a really good football player, a really, really, really good football player. If you get the kid who's been immature the past 2 years and then floundered at Clemson and then floundered, he got to West Virginia and that thing was screwed up from Jump Street, just did not work from literally the beginning of his time there in Morgantown. I don't know if maybe being in a better team, a better situation, with guys like Hendon Hooker and Cedric Tillman in the squad to kind of help him stay mature, maybe that helps. Maybe a fresh perspective on things helps him. I don't know. But if they can unlock something in him, if that kid realizes how lucky he is after everything in the past year to be at a place like Tennessee right now with that kind of offense, if he realizes that and he grows up, that's a really good football player. That's a really, really good football player. I have no idea. I don't pretend to know. I know that people in West Virginia were not sad to see him leave. But, sometimes you go into a new situation and things open up for you. So I've seen that before at Tennessee and other places. So I don't know what he's going to do, but I know that if his head's on straight, that's a really good football player.
Wes Rucker is here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Go Vols 24/7 is where you can read his work. At Wes Rucker 24/7 is where you can follow him on Twitter. Are the two fastest players on the team freshmen this year?
It might be. I'll tell you, Squirrel White is one of the fastest young football players I've ever seen. His top speed. I mean, this kid can't weigh more than like $155, right? It's got to be maybe 160 tops, but goodness gracious, when he opens up and runs, I don't know if he can take hits yet, but man, that kid, 23.6 miles an hour or whatever it is, that's just preposterous. I mean, that's wild to think about that. And then there's a couple other guys on the team who might like to think that they're almost that fast. You know, Dillon Sampson's almost that fast. Deshaun Rucker, the sophomore cornerback, he's a guy who probably can run almost that fast. They like speed in this offense, right? When you talk about the Tennessee offense, they use two words: space and pace. Space and pace, right? That's what they want to do, and you need the pace to do that. And right now, I think they've gotten much better in that area just in the past year, and that's saying something when a team loses Velus Jones Jr. and Javonte Payton.
What's the ceiling for Hendon Hooker this year?
That's a good question. I think it's probably statistically, maybe a few more yards, a few more touchdowns, but I mean, I don't know how you can improve on 31 picks or 31 touchdowns and 3 picks.
That's my thing, Wes. I think there's some, again, kind of running it through an NFL prism. Like, there's some things that scouts like about him if he continues to improve on what he can do this season, as far as kind of working off more than just his first progression and kind of an increased comfort level in an offense that's going to allow him to put up points and numbers, as you said. But I'm just kind of curious, not seeing him on a regular basis, how realistic that kind of growth is.
Well, I'll tell you, just purely statistically, I don't know how you can throw that many passes and only have 3 interceptions for a second consecutive season. I mean, just a tipped interception, a ball that goes off the receiver's hands, the wind blowing on a deep ball. I mean, anything can happen that can change that around. I mean, that's just it's almost fluky. It's so unreal. But I'll tell you where Hendon Hooker has grown is just sort of within himself as a person. He's always been mature. The maturity has never been this kid's issue. This kid seemed like he was born 25 years old. He's just one of those kind of kids. He's a smart kid. People really like him. But last year at Tennessee, he arrived and he was coming from Virginia Tech on a mission, right? And that mission only got stronger after Joe Milton transferred into it. Was, this is my chance. I got a fresh start. I'm all business. I'm going to be here. I'm going to quarterback this team, and that's what I'm going to do. And people were like, bro, you're not being yourself. Why don't you relax a little bit? Like, everybody likes you. Just chill sometimes. Be more. It's not that he was in a bad place or anything. He was just so serious all the time. And now I think you're seeing the authentic version of who this kid is. When you got to work, you got to work. But he's much more laid back. He's much more he lets his guard down when he's doing interviews, when he's talking to teammates. I mean, he's out there helping kids learn how to change tires and manage, checking accounts and, how to, if you want to day trade, here's a good idea. Like, I mean, this kid, he wrote a children's book this summer, leading some FCA stuff. This kid's all over the place, all the time. I mean, he talked to me about his average day, and he was just halfway through him talking about his average day, I was physically exhausted just listening to it. And this is what he does every day. He's just got so many ideas and so many things. And that kind of guy is it's absolutely perfect for someone you want leading your program. And I think that is something that will lift him sometimes this year, but as much or more importantly, it'll lift the guys around him. I think guys respond to that. And when you have a leader, an established quarterback like that, I mean, even Joe Milton stayed. He loves playing with the guy. So I think there's a lot to like about that situation.
Wes Rucker, at Wes Rucker 24/7. Give him a follow if you're not already. Great Vols information here with us, and certainly on his Twitter account where he writes at govols247.com. Thank you, Wes. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Anytime.
Wes Rucker there with us on 104.5 The Zone. So, a lot to kind of digest there, particularly the competition at left tackle on the offensive line. It's the offense is garnering most of the attention, understandably so. People want to know if it's sustainable. and how much better it can get realistically, because I think that's what we're talking about. And then, you get a preseason slight like the coaches ranking Kentucky and Ole Miss ahead of you, and everybody's losing their minds. It's a lot of fun. It feels like college football season again, bud.
Yes, it does.
Live from Hattie B's on Charlotte Avenue as we continue their 10th anniversary celebration. 3HL broadcasting out here this afternoon as well. We're going to do an on-air taste test at some point with CJ and Brett. They've never had Hattie B's. We're going to make them do this in some form or fashion. I don't know if Brett opted for like actual hot chicken or if he kind of chickened out a little bit. Based on what it literally says no heat on the receipt that he brought me back.
Oh, come on.
No heat.
What are we doing?
Shameful. I had to do the Hiroshima hot chicken at Scoreboard, and you opted instead for no heat. Cowardice.
What's the point of doing a taste
I paid
test?
for this, Brett. I don't want no heat. I want content. What are you doing to me? Live from Hattie B's is
Might as
104.5.
well be strained carrots.
What did you say, Kirby?
It might as well be strained carrots.
Go to break.
Hey, Spring Hill.
Avenue as we broadcast here today. 3HL, myself, we're hanging out. We've got the whole crew. Got all kinds of people out here on the Charlotte Avenue location. Brett Batzler has received his no-heat order. Joe Hunk is also here because I assume, is Hunk here for 3HL?
I don't think so.
Okay. Maybe he just came by for lunch. Perhaps. Very
Can't blame
good.
him.
Okay. So I told Hunk he cannot order food from Hattie B's that has no heat because I want somebody to do this in a way that we can actually get the content out of instead of chickening out and just, kind of frankly taking advantage of me the way that Brett did to just pay for his lunch.
Yeah. Honestly, I respect that so much from Brett.
It's a really heady play.
But yeah, here's my card. Go get some hot chicken. We'll do a taste test on the radio. It'll be fun. Like, I'll get chicken tenders.
Sure, bud. Please. Yeah, give me chicken tenders with ranch. Like a toddler out here. Anyway, let's. Lucas just sent me a tweet. You want to describe the tweet that you sent me of the Vols quarterback Hendon Hooker? Do we want to? Is there audio worth playing? Because he's clearly talking to the camera.
Yeah, it's like 5 seconds of audio of him saying, "Hey, Vol fans, can't wait to get it going," or something of that nature.
Who does that serve, by the way? Like when they have Malik Willis on TikTok after the Titans draft him, and he's just like, "Hey, Titans fans, can't wait to hang out here." Yes, we know. You just got drafted. Like the 6-second message on TikTok isn't doing anything for me.
Yeah, so Tennessee Football's Twitter account put it out. Just a little, very short selfie video of Hendon Hooker, talking to Vols fans. And he quote tweeted it and said, "Please excuse the no haircut. I'm locked in with my brothers. Hendon Hooker, too deep into the grind to even get a haircut."
All right. He's clearly had a haircut in the last 2 weeks. So who on the poll at Buck Reising is where we will
started, less than 2 weeks ago.
Okay. So I think if you told people that Hendon Hooker has had a haircut in the last 2 weeks, they would say to you, yes, that's normal for a, that's probably excessive if you're getting one every 2 weeks. Who gets more haircuts, me or Hendon Hooker? Like throughout the course of a week?
Definitely you. Like nobody
Definitely
gets more
me?
haircut. You get haircuts on a weekly basis sometimes.
I do go on a weekly basis.
It's insane.
I have done it twice in 1 week when the Titans played on Thursday Night Football.
This is why nobody ever notices when you get a haircut, because I feel like you just go in and it just looks the same as it did when you left.
That's the point. That's the point, to not look any different. I'm not trying to get shaggy.
I get a haircut and I tell them to make it as short as possible so I don't have to worry about it for like another 5 months.
It's therapeutic for me. It's an hour and a half that I can sit in the chair and not think about it. I'm not going to look at my phone. I'm just going to chop it up with my barber for about an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes once a week. It's great.
An hour and a half is an insanely long time to get a haircut for me.
I don't think that's long. I feel like that's pretty normal.
Like don't think I've ever gotten a haircut that's more than a half
but
hour.
It's not just a haircut. Like I'm getting my beard done. You're just going to do the eyebrows. I'm going to do a hot towel. Like I'm doing the whole thing.
Okay.
No scalp massage. No scalp massage. But I'm gonna enjoy myself when I go to the barbershop. And I feel like everybody should enjoy themselves when they go to the barbershop. It's it's my moment of zen, at least. So Hendon Hooker, too deep in the grind to get a haircut.
You know who else needs a haircut?
Who?
Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. What the hell? How do you want to do this? You just want to play the full clip of Aaron Rodgers talking about doing ayahuasca tea before his third of 4 MVP seasons? Let's do that.
And my intention the first night going in was, I want to feel what pure love feels like. That was my intention. And
your mic's up.
Did. I really did. I had a magical experience with the sensation of feeling 100 different hands on my body, imparting a blessing of love and forgiveness for myself and gratitude for this life from what seemed to be my ancestors. And I came back and the pandemic hit. So I went from this incredible bliss in Peru to a pandemic back in the States. And the first part, if you remember, a pandemic was actually incredible. Living where I live in Malibu, the skies opened up and were beautiful. Yeah, it seemed like the ocean was bluer.
There's a lot of positivity that came from that. We're going to take a pause for 2 weeks. And a lot of people coming together. There was a lot of the human spirit was really shining beautifully in that moment.
That obviously got replaced by a lot of fear and uneasy and death and different things. But I really feel like that set me on my course to be able to go back in to my job and have a different perspective on things, and then to be way more free at work, as a leader, as a teammate, as a friend, as a lover. And I really feel like that experience paved the way for me to have the best season of my career.
That's Aaron Rodgers on a podcast interview recently talking about doing ayahuasca tea in the season leading up to his second to most recent MVP campaign. It's hilarious. All of it. How do you feel about Aaron Rodgers? Because I fluctuate. I really do. Sometimes I think, okay, it's a lot. It's a little. It's probably the way that people feel about me. It's like, okay, I get your, you've got a certain personality type, but you're kind of a pretentious bleep hole. You know what I'm saying? But other times, I love that Aaron Rodgers just operates on a different plane than everybody else, and also that he's tripping, he's tripping balls before games and having an MVP season. Like, it's tremendous.
It's hard to hate on it, right?
I think I'm pro Aaron Rodgers again.
How can you hate on that? He went back-to-back MVP. He had the best season of his career in the season after this offseason trip to Peru. So it's like, you could talk about it, talk trash all you want. You can hate on it, but like it worked. So I don't know what more you could say about it.
Bradley Minigan, I think, is the Twitter user that has just sent us a message. Wait, Lucas, did you just expose that Buck spends an hour and a half in a barber chair, spending all that money to come out looking exactly like he did going in? That's the point.
Yeah,
the point is to not look different. Like, the point is to keep the consistent haircut. That's what I'm paying all the money for. That's why I go once a week. How much do you pay for a haircut?
Oh gosh, like $30.
Oh my God.
It's so easy. I'm saying just chop it off. See you in 5 months.
$30? I
mean, yeah, I tip,
That's with tip?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, my God.
Absolutely.
You're kidding me. Well, to each his own, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to Paul Mitchell. Just go to a barber, chop it off.
What is Paul Mitchell?
Paul Mitchell, like one of the most iconic hairstylists in American history.
Why do you think anybody but you would know that? Like because a Paul Mitchell reference on Sports Talk Radio. What are you doing?
Because I've seen Don't Mess with the Zohan, and his dream is to work at Paul Mitchell.
All right, so maybe you and like 3 other people who saw Don't Mess with the Zohan, another terrible Adam Sandler movie.
Oh, no, one of the most underrated Adam Sandler movies.
Trash.
No, do not come at me with that. That is a fantastic movie.
Absolute trash. Anyway, we're hanging out here at Hattie B's, celebrating their 10th anniversary, the Charlotte Avenue location. To be exact, 3HL will be out here from 3 to 6 as well. Brett Batchelor is enjoying his heatless chicken tenders, and we'll see if we can't get some content out of Joe Hunk. The owner of Hattie B's is going to join us here in just a little bit as well, and we will, talk about one of the most iconic hot chicken institutions in this city, Hattie B's, where so many people frequent. We will also talk about the Titans' offensive line competition because Dillon Radunz out here fighting for his positional life. You'll hear from a variety of different people, including Coach Dave McGinnis and Corey Curtis, in the final hour. Coming up next, I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Final hour for us. Live from Hattie B's on Charlotte Avenue, celebrating their 10th anniversary. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. Buck Reising here with you until 1 o'clock. CJ, Kirby, Brett. Got all kinds of people from The Zone hanging out with us. Lucas Panzica is hot chicken less back in the studio. What we like to call sweet justice. What a pity. What a pity that you are without lunch today. Did you at least get tacos for Taco Tuesday? Did Jason and Ramon, were they kind enough to provide you with food? Actually, Lucas appears to be on the phone, so I'll bother him later on in the show. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in if you want. Stop by for lunch. We're going to hang out with Nick Bishop, who is one of the co-founders. It's a father and son team that founded Hattie B's. We're going to talk to Nick Bishop about the 10 years that they have had this thing in place and basically the roots that date back to the 1940s and what a cult following Nashville hot chicken has become. Hattie B's being the leader on that forefront, or one of the leaders on that forefront for certain. 4 locations total in the Nashville area. Hattie B's is the place that you can go. We are going to talk about some offensive line competition for the Tennessee Titans, but Lucas tells me that we have a hilarious call on the line that we must take. Lucas, who is on the line, and what do they want to talk about?
Terry from Nashville on Aaron Rodgers and his psychedelics. He just has a question for us.
All right, Terry, make my day.
All right, what do you think is the more legendary psychedelic drug moment in sports history? Doc Ellis's no-hitter on LSD or Aaron Rodgers' journey through self-exploration on ayahuasca? I'll take the answer off the air. Tell Nick Terry said what's up.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for the call. That's a good one.
Yeah.
A no-hitter on LSD or
That's a poll question.
Go ahead, at Buck Reising. On the poll is where you can put a no-hitter on LSD or Aaron Rodgers, going through an MVP season on ayahuasca tea and hallucinating the whole time while en route to winning his third MVP, his third of 4 NFL MVPs. That's a great question.
Well, Rodgers did not play football on ayahuasca.
You don't know that.
No,
you don't know
that. An off-season
I think
trip
instead
to
of
Peru.
instead of running from Aaron Donald or whichever defensive nightmare player that Aaron Rodgers was playing against, I think he was being chased by a dragon. I think that's what was happening on the field with Aaron Rodgers and his ayahuasca team.
Oh God, I hope that was happening. But
I'm dying for that, man. The visual of that. Out here throwing, just chucking touchdown passes into your end zone, and he's being chased by a dragon.
What does Jeffrey Simmons look like bearing down the A-gap?
Your worst nightmare.
Yeah, I don't know.
Something literally coming to eat you.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I don't know if that would be the right move. I think Aaron Rodgers just used it as an off-season way to cleanse his mind before his MVP season, which is amazing. But Doc Ellis was literally on LSD while pitching a no-hitter in 1970. That is insane. It has to be Doc Ellis.
I think you are correct. Without the proper reporting, we need good journalism on this. We need to find out if Aaron Rodgers did in fact play while drinking or during the process of drinking the ayahuasca tea, or if that was just a spiritual cleanse before the third of 4 MVP seasons did begin. But yeah, the no-hitter on LSD, that would seem to take the cake. What a great question. Well done. 615-737-1045. A lot of questions popping up about the Titans' offensive line situation. They are practicing today, or more a walkthrough today, not open to the media, which is why we are not out there. They will travel tomorrow. They're off for a travel day, and I think it's going to be curious to see what the rep distribution is between Dillon Radunz at the right tackle spot and Nicholas Petit-Frere, who is the rookie third-round pick out of Ohio State, who's been getting a lot more reps in training camp here in the last week or so, and now I think has truly opened that competition up in ways where I think it's Aaron Brewer's job to lose at left guard. And I would tell you Roger McCreary likely on the outside opposite Christian Fulton at this point, although Farley, McCreary, Fulton, Molden when he gets back and gets up and running again, all of those guys are going to play in some form or fashion. And then you saw the Titans making a acquisition at the safety position this morning before the show started to kind of bolster their back-end depth there. So for all of these things, now we're getting people tweeting us the picture of Aaron Rodgers, Lucas on, laying on his side with his chin strap up around his nose. You've seen that meme going around the internet for a while now since last season. The moment Aaron saw the dragon is what Jonathan Roberts has tweeted us. Hey, you gotta be careful out there, man. You know what's gonna pop out. It's a whole different kind of turf monster Aaron Rodgers is seeing.
Oh, what does he see when he looks up and he sees Devontae Adams streaking down the sideline wide open?
A pterodactyl. A pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl with its wings outstretched.
That are a giant bat.
I have to return the egg to the pterodactyl. He throws it down the sideline.
Do you remember the first Batman, the Christian Bale Batman movie, where you got the scarecrow spraying the hallucinogen in people's face? Yeah. Like what you saw in that movie is what I imagine Aaron Rodgers is seeing on a field of play.
Right.
Just all of that. All right. We won't get caught. We won't get bogged down by the Aaron Rodgers stuff anymore. Or at least until he does something more like, take another psychedelic trip and then decide to play a preseason game or whatever he's going to do. For the right tackle spot, I'm curious about the rep distribution. I'm curious to see how many vets they're actually going to play. We know that Tannehill's not going to go. We know that Derrick Henry's not going to play. I'd be shocked to see Lawan or Ben Jones out there. I'd be shocked to see Jeffrey Simmons, Danico Autry, Bud, or Harold. I think you're going to be, but I mean, there were some preseason snaps played by defensive starters last year, so that's not an outright given. But with the idea that Tampa Bay is going to be here next week for joint training camp practices in lieu of playing the starters in preseason games against them, and then Arizona, the Cardinals in the week after that, I would expect that there would not be a tremendous amount of work for the defensive veterans as well. I bet those corners get a lot of work, though. Fulton maybe not, but Farley and McCreary, I'd play them a bunch. I want to see a lot of those guys participating in the preseason. Whether Mike Vrabel and that staff does it or not, of course, is a question. But for the right tackle rep distribution, I'm kind of preparing myself for an even split. Who gets the first series or the first couple of series versus who gets the next part at right tackle? That's not going to bother me that much. That's like Logan Woodside starting the first half of one game and then starting the second half of another while they let Matt Barkley do the opposite. Like, it's not indicative of where they are in the coaching staff's eyes. It's just that's the way that they decided they were going to play those guys. So how that kind of manifests, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But looking at what they have, I think Dillon Radunz is in a legit competition. And I don't think many people, or at least that conversation has just now started. You're gonna hear some audio from Corey Curtis of WKRN News 2. He was on the radio show yesterday, and we talked about Nicholas Petit-Frere. So we'll do that coming up next. Nick Bishop, the owner of Hattie B's, is also going to join us as we broadcast live from their Charlotte Avenue location on the 10th anniversary of this fantastic restaurant. We'll do all that and more. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
QC.
Anything that comes out of Titans training camp. For the latest information
Hattie B's, their Charlotte Avenue location, 104.5 The Zone. 3HL broadcasting from 3 to 6 out here today. Hot-blooded. Not Brett Batchelor, not Joe Hunk. I'm very disappointed because Brett is trying to now, get his clout up, I guess, because not only did he take my credit card, he's never had Hattie B's before. I gave him the credit card. I said, okay, go get food. We'll do it on air. It'll be great. The hotter the better, that'd be swell. Now, I did not tell him what heat degree he had to go. This dude comes back with no heat, both him and Joe Hunk. They're both useless. I don't know. How am I supposed to get anything out of this?
Wait, Hunk
today?
too?
Hunk is here, and he did the exact same thing.
Oh, my God.
He did the exact same thing. Now, CJ, what is the level of heat that you got? Hot. CJ got hot. So we're going to take a video of CJ eating the hot Hattie B's chicken.
That's acceptable.
At some point. Yes, it is acceptable. So we're having a great time out here. Lunch hour is popping at Hattie B's. Any of their 4 Nashville locations. You can celebrate their 10th anniversary, as we are today. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. Nick Bishop, Sr. and Jr., owners of the Hattie B's franchise, are going to sit down with us in about 9 minutes from now. In the meantime, talking about this Titans right tackle competition, Nicholas Petit-Frere and Dillon Radunz gutting it out for that starting role. First preseason game coming up this Thursday. Flying up to Baltimore. I'm flying up to Baltimore on Wednesday night, Wednesday afternoon, before prime time. Do you think I get delayed?
What time is your flight leave?
I need to look. And I know it's after radio, so you don't have to worry about me, taking the day off for a travel day as the Titans are.
Doesn't matter then.
I should probably know this. I am leaving tomorrow at 5 o'clock p.m. 5 o'clock p.m. from Nashville International Airport. I'm scheduled to arrive at 7:50 Eastern time.
Almost a full 24 hours before kickoff. You'll be all right.
That is correct. I think we're going to be okay. But what is kind of what we're determining, whether it's going to be okay or not, is the right tackle spot. This was something Corey Curtis of WKRN News 2 and I discussed yesterday when we broadcast live from training camp.
Yeah, it might be Radunz to start the season, but I am leaning more towards the other guy.
Yeah, you said that.
And
off air.
Yeah, and I think as the weeks go on, like I said, it might be Radunz in week 1, but by week 6, it could be Petit-Frere. And maybe it is week 1. I think there's more there.
So how does that make you feel if you're a Titans fan? 615-737-1045. That the second-round pick, Radunz, who a lot of this offseason, the discussion has been around, hey, is he going to be able to step up? Is he going to be able to live up to the billing? How much of the curve that we're grading Dillon Radunz on, the idea that one FCS game during the pandemic season comes in not necessarily ready for the level of NFL play, gets one start against the San Francisco 49ers. I think he got, and it's completely respectfully to Dillon, but I think he got way more credit than he deserved for his performance in that game based on the individual play of Dillon Radunz. They won the game. That's what matters. And he played well enough for them to win. But the amount of help that is required to assist Dillon Radunz takes away from other things that should allow the Titans to operate more freely as an offensive unit. So when you take all that into consideration, I mean, if Dillon Radunz gets beat out by the rookie, are you good? Are you going to be bent out of shape? Are you going to be mad at Dillon Radunz? Are you going to be pissed at John Robinson? How does that work? Because I think there's a lot of people who would mostly just look at that and say, as long as we have a competent right tackle, then I don't care who it is. If Dillon Radunz isn't that guy, can he play guard? Can he be a better option than Aaron Brewer? I don't think so. But these are the kind of conversations that will be worked out in the preseason and we'll start to see take shape against Baltimore on Thursday. And again, those rep splits between those two guys, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I bet it's pretty even out the gate.
I mean, the reaction to that happening, if that were to take place, if Petit-Frere kind of made a late surge and beat out Dillon Radunz, the reaction would be totally dependent on how that took place. Did Radunz lose the job, or did Petit-Frere step up and grab a hold of the job and give the Titans competent right tackle play?
Does it have to be either or?
I think so, because if that's the case, if it's a good competition and the rookie is better than expected, then that'll make fans feel a whole lot better than Dillon Radunz just has not been able to grab this job by the horns, and you have to depend on a rookie that's going to have inconsistencies and make mistakes. So if Petit Frere, the level of his play, if he were to beat out Radunz, I think would completely influence people's reaction to that.
I mean, there's been other second-round picks in the history of football that have washed out, right? And I'm not saying Radunz is there yet, but, like, would it be any kind of like a shock to the system if the second-round pick of the Titans at tackle washed out? I don't think so. You know, I just think that it matters that they had. Can he be good depth if he can't be a starting role? Let's hear from Coach Dave McGinnis, who was on the radio show. Well, he's on every Friday, and Mac will be on this Friday after the preseason game as well. But a couple of weeks ago, we talked to Mac about the starting offensive line spots, left guard and right tackle. He seemed to be pretty entrenched that they'd already been decided.
But again, he looks like a completely different guy too, you know, as to what he's done with his body in the off season. And again, you're talking about a guy that came in here from a smaller school that played one game in the season before he came here. And, you know, it's a shock to some of their systems when they get in here. I fully expect Dillon Radunz to be fine. I expect him to be the right tackle for this team, and I think it'll be a really good thing.
So, I mean, I trust Mac's assessment of football players more than I trust my own, but I can only go based off what I see at practice on a rep count basis. And what I see from Petit Frere is he's earning opportunities to take snaps away from Dillon Radunz. It's not the end of the world. Doesn't mean that the competition is over. We've got, the better part of a month to see how that plays out. But I think that in the same way that I told you to keep an eye on Roger McCreary, earning the starting outside corner job initially over Caleb Farley, or being better equipped to play outside corner right now better than Caleb Farley. Doesn't mean that Caleb Farley won't be a good player. Just means that Roger McCreary has a better grasp of the situation and will, as a result, leave them open to less opportunities for them to be taken advantage of if you've got a corner who's still kind of learning the spot. And you know that NFL offenses early on, whether it's competent NFL offenses like the Buffalo Bills in week 2 or incompetent NFL offenses like the New York Giants, who the Titans will open their season with on September 11th at Nissan Stadium. All these things are going to be in discussion, and those are really the only two spots that I see having legit open competition right now. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. How would that make you feel if Dillon Radunz was to lose the job to Nicholas Petit Frere? What would that say about the Titans' ability to identify quality offensive line talent? Because, again, not in the same way that Isaiah Wilson washed out, but that would be a very, very quick fall for Dillon Radunz to be a second-round pick who can't find his way out onto the field. That's not the kind of situation that you want to exist in, and certainly the Titans, the optics of which you don't want to deal with that either. In the meantime, as we broadcast live from Hattie B's
Britches Report,
we're going to, we have a Britches Report, the first Britches Report of the season?
The first, let's go ahead and do this for it.
Yes.
Breaking Titans news on 104.5 The Zone.
Go ahead.
The first Britches Report of the 2022 Tennessee Titans season, courtesy, of course, of Jim Wyatt Sports. The Titans will be decked out in white jerseys with light blue britches in Thursday night's preseason opener.
Brew Mccoy? Is that what you were doing there? What happened?
And light Brew Mccoy brew britches. It's a dangerous game we're playing there.
Yes, the first Britches Report of the season. It feels like football, kids. Got to make you very, very happy. At J. Wyatt Sports, of course, is where the Britches Report emanates from each and every game week, because this is a game week. And Titans Radio will have the coverage kickoff at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday of the Titans at Baltimore. We are going to be joined by the owners of Hattie B's, Nick Bishop Jr. and Sr., getting ready to sit down with us here on the radio show as we broadcast live from their Charlotte Avenue location. I think that we're gonna do that here in just a second, Kirby. Okay, Kirby, we're ready to go. So let's get that going here, as we are happy to have Nick Bishop Sr. and Jr. sit down with us. on 104.5 The Zone, live from the Charlotte Avenue location. We're celebrating the 10th anniversary of Hattie B's. 3HL broadcasting live from 3 to 6 as well. Gentlemen, I appreciate you hanging out with us.
Oh, look, it's our honor and privilege for you to be here. Thank you.
No, our honor and privilege to celebrate an institution. Hattie B's is something synonymous with hot chicken, and it's a cult following that's now developed across the country. But, like, this is where the roots are. You guys are as big a part of the trend as any other name association that comes to mind.
Well, you know what? It's been an incredible 10 years, and, fortunately my restaurant roots go way beyond 10 years ago.
Right.
And to be able to work with Nick Jr., my son, and be a part of the Nashville community and here in West Nashville, I mean, it's just truly amazing. Our people, we've got an incredible group of people that love this business, and they love hospitality, they love customer service. And fortunately, we've been able to put together something, and we really didn't know what we were doing early on, other than we're going to make a great experience and something happen. So it's worked out great. And again, I'm just so proud of Nick and our team, all the people that line up every day and stand in lines to come in our doors. It's truly humbling, and it's a real blessing.
And it's 1,000. I mean, it's proof of concept, right, Nick? Like, this is, I guess both Nicks, but Nick Jr.
Yeah.
It's proof of concept. I mean, as soon as the doors opened, 5 minutes, there was packed house. Like, you guys have been doing this successfully. And again, going back further than 10 years, but the Hattie B's concept specifically, it really seems like that has paid off, and people understand the kind of attention and care and quality of product that they're going to get when they come to Hattie B's.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to the job that our folks do every day. I mean, we realize that there's a lot of choices people have to make out there, and that they pick us, whether it's once a week or once a month, whatever it is. So when they come in, we better be smiling, and music better be cranking, and everybody better be having a good time. We take a lot of pride in that, and don't take that lightly. But we opened our 10th store in Atlanta last week.
Congratulations to you both and to the entire team.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just been it's been wild. It's hard to kind of put it all into words, but super grateful to having grown up in this town and seeing it change so much over the last 10, 15 years. To be a part of that, hopefully a good part of that change, is something that we really make sure we got our end buttoned up. So
what's been I mean, obviously there's so many different things that go into the hospitality business and a concept like Hattie B's, but over the course of the 10 years, as this has kind of grown and developed into what it is, what have been some of the most pivotal moments for you where you felt like things were really catching on and you saw how quickly the rise was coming?
Well, early on, it's great to have a family business, and that's truly what we have, and an extended family with the number of folks that now work with us. But, my grandmother was Hattie, my mother is Hattie, and I've got an 11-year-old granddaughter. Her name is Hattie, and our last name happens to be Bishop, so Hattie B's all works very well. But my 90-year-old mother, actually, I spent some time with her recently. She's asking for her royalty check.
As she should. As she
absolutely should. That's right.
Mom's got it figured out.
Yeah, but you know what I think? We really didn't, outside of just having a good operations background and loving people. We didn't really have a playbook. We opened in an area of town that we thought was, we would do well, and we just put a lot of attention to detail and love into what we were doing, and fortunately, within about 6 months after opening, our numbers, our lines started to get longer, and I'm looking for help, and Junior's looking for help, and
I think honestly, our one of the things that I think has made us most successful is we've always been ourselves. Tried to do it our own way, but always pay homage to the Princes and the Boltons and the people that came before us, because that's where Nashville.
That's the roots.
That's it, right? And that's why it's our city's dish, and that's why we're very serious when we take it outside of Nashville about doing it the right way and creating a space that people want to come back and visit and having bumping music and great staff. Like, it's incredibly difficult, but also like the basics of it are pretty simple.
Well, and Hot Chicken, Hot Chicken is completely taken over as its own entity across the country. Have you guys been, you don't have to name names, but have you guys been anywhere where you've been like, okay, this is ridiculous, that this is what's being called hot chicken when we know how it's done properly in the right way? Like, because I'm sure you guys are going around several different places.
Yes.
Nick Jr. is nodding his head vigorously.
Yeah, for sure. I think part of our success is like being kind of a step from the past, being from Nashville, having like a deep respect for the city, the history of it, but also like taking that and being able to make it travel. We've surrounded ourselves with great people. We treat people well. We make great food. We try to keep it as simple as that. We got dope merch. We try to keep it fun.
The merch is sick.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Hattie B shirt. I like this. What you're rocking, and of course, where can people check out the merch?
You can go to HattieB.com. All of our stores have merch areas in them, but HattieB.com is the easiest way to get all of it. We got some.
All right, so I need some expertise here, okay? Because 2 people on our staff, prior to us doing the show here today, had not had Hattie B's.
Okay.
Which, of course, is a cardinal sin. Now, we since rectified that issue. But I said, okay, take the card, go get lunch, whatever you want to do. We'll do the taste test on air. Your first experience at Hattie B's. And these 2, well, one of them has since abandoned because he knew I was coming from. They went with no heat.
Yeah.
Okay.
They went with no heat.
Which is a great product. That's a great food item.
There is no question about it, but I feel it does a disservice to the experience of Hattie B's for the first time since we were going to be out here. What should I do with it? I don't know what to do with it.
Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, Hunk is very happy.
It's good.
Joe Hunk of 3HL is very happy. By the way, 3HL will be out here to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Hattie B's franchise from 3 to 6 at the Charlotte Avenue location. So if you missed us for lunch, 3HL's got you covered. But I feel like this is a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
I think you're probably correct.
Tell him to lie about the heat level they got. I'm looking at Southern right here. He needs to tell them they got hot.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, at least lie to me. At least lie to me so I don't know that you've just completely taken advantage of me.
Have you done it?
Have I done? Yes. Well, not today.
Okay.
Not today, I have not. But certainly that is in the near future after we wrap up the show at 1 o'clock. Nick Bishop, senior and junior, owner of Hattie B's, kind enough to spend some time with us, kind enough to invite us to their 10th anniversary celebration at the Charlotte Avenue location. 4 locations in Middle Tennessee and spreading rapidly across the Southeast. And I'm sure into the future there are many more plans.
Yeah, that's the plan. We got 2 more next year, one in Houston, one in Austin. I'll say that even though she probably would tell me not to say it because it's not official yet.
What's the way we got breaking news?
Yeah, it's breaking.
Buddy, I'm an NFL reporter. You got to be careful. You got to tell me off the record before you break some news later.
Yeah, we're going to keep going and keep having as much fun as we can.
Absolutely. Well, we're having a great time. If you haven't come out for lunch yet, do so at Hattie B's. Guys, I appreciate you stopping by, and I appreciate you letting us hang out here today.
Hey, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Buck. Shout out Terry Kane. Shout out Doc Ellis.
There it is. Shout out Doc Ellis is absolutely right. All right. We'll wrap up the show. We'll do some polls. We'll get us out of here and set the table for Blaine and Mickey and 3HL after that. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone. on Charlotte Avenue here on 104.5 The Zone. Been a lot of fun. 3HL going to continue the party. They celebrate their 10th anniversary. Kirby's out here jamming. Hungry like the wolf. What are you, hungry? You projecting? You manifesting back there?
Starving.
Well, everybody else is eating very, very well. It's unfortunate for you that you decided to ask out of the Hattie B situation today. Shameful, frankly.
Bring me back some, please.
I'll think about it. We can begin negotiations. Lucas Panzica hanging out back in the studio. Blaine and Mickey will be in studio, and then 3HL, as I mentioned, after that. For the situation in the NFL, a new situation in the NFL, or an officially approved situation in the NFL, the Broncos ownership change has just officially been approved and accepted. The NFL owners have voted. James Palmer, as of about 4 or 5 minutes ago, James Palmer at NFL Network, the owners have voted the Walton Penner Group, now officially the new ownership of the Broncos, going for a cool $4.5 billion on the open market there. Walmart money, $4.5 billion. The Walton family getting it. So now the Walton family has 2 NFL franchises in their holdings between the Los Angeles Rams and Stan Kroenke, who married into Walmart money, and then the Walton Penner Group, also of Walmart fame. That, kind of looking tomorrow, and maybe we talk about this tomorrow, Lucas. In fact, I'd be curious, can we get Nate Rao for tomorrow to talk about some stadium stuff? Because there has been a stall, this $800,000 study that was commissioned to kind of evaluate the necessary things around the stadium before it was officially approved. I'd like some details on that, and I want to talk about that because also that has something to do with NFL franchise valuations, new stadium. It's not just about, having Super Bowls in Nashville and all these other things, but it's hugely beneficial for the Adams family. Amy Adams Strunk is the controlling owner, for them to get this new stadium deal through so that their $700 million investment, the assets that they liquidated to go in on the stadium from their own pocket, that can pay off massive dividends in the way that the stadium, rather the franchise valuation, should they ever decide to sell or just to continue to increase in value, as these basically toys for billionaires tend to do. But we'll have time to talk about that tomorrow, and we'll do the dumbest thing in sports this week on Wednesday as well. In the meantime, let's do some polls.
Oh, Nelly, this is Keith Jackson.
Go to about 56 here.
Ball. It's time to stop the count. The polls have closed, and the granddaddy of them all has been tallied with your poll update. Oh, Nelly, talking about Buck Reising show producer and daily correspondent, Lucas Panzica.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford. Custom order any new Ford from Two Rivers. They will deliver it to you when it gets manufactured. Who are the winners of the weekend? Rick says it's the Titans.
The Titans, why? What did the Titans do?
I don't know. I think you just wanted to say the Titans.
Okay, I'm very happy for Rick and the Titans.
EJ says, winner is this guy, and posts the video of the Duke football player with the unbelievable opera voice singing to his teammates in the locker room. I don't know if you had caught wind of this, but it was actually remarkable.
Is there payoff on the air? Can we do the opera singing on the air? Is that too much to ask you?
No, let me scrounge it up.
Okay, find me the Duke football player singing opera for his teammates. This is like Justin Tucker, the Ravens kicker, who overnights as an operatic singer. He can do it in 6 or 7 different languages, apparently. Justin Tucker, who, by the way, just got a bunch of money. Oh. It's pretty good.
His teammates.
It's a bunch of dudes in the locker room hype as hell because their buddy just belted out an opera verse.
Oh, they're the losers of the weekend. Alexander says Daniel Jones with that direct throw to his linebacker. Yeah, the early returns from Daniel Jones at Giants camp have not looked good.
If you had to pick one quarterback to face in week 1 for the Titans, it would be Daniel Jones, I think. I think Daniel Jones is the best option as far as embattled quarterbacks who are going to give you the opportunity to win a game.
Should the Tennessee Vols be a preseason top 25 team? 55% say no.
Say that again?
Should the Vols be a top 25 team in the preseason? 55% say no.
Really? Okay. Should Texas be a top 25 team then? I guess that would be the corresponding poll.
We asked, are the Vols better than the Texas Longhorns right now? And 69% nice say yes.
Okay. Well, then they should, because Texas is 18th in the preseason coaches poll. Just a quick update on the Bears situation with Roquan Smith. The new general manager of the Bears, Ryan Poles, is addressing the situation right now. His intentions are to make sure Roquan is still on this team, still prefers to reach a new deal with the 2018 first-round pick who wants out.
Well, we'll see if requesting a trade is just part of the negotiations as a whole.
I mean, it was for Debo and AJ.
Yep. Well, and one of those stayed, one of those didn't.
That's right.
Will you riot if CBS uses the SEC on CBS theme for Big Ten games? 67% say yes. Surprised at the 33% that are willing to give that up.
Well, I think that may be the contingent of the audience that may not necessarily be an SEC football fan. But I saw our buddy Travis Rockhold at Outsider tweet us that he did not care about the SEC on CBS theme song until he saw the opportunity to take it from you, Lucas, and to hurt you that way. Now he cares. Now he's invested.
Noted Ohio State fan Travis Rockhold of Outsider. Will says, I'll never know. Won't be watching. So happy to get rid of Gary Danielson. The hatred SEC fans have for Gary Danielson really is something else.
Is it warranted? Like, I don't care when Gary Danielson is on the television. Like, I don't have a problem with Gary.
Yeah, I've never thought he was that bad. Like, the reaction to me does not fit the thing that people should be pissed about.
Is it like Troy Aikman when he does Packers games? Like, Packers fans just will never forgive Troy Aikman for playing for the Cowboys, and now he's on Fox, or I guess was on Fox.
I mean, Gary has his moments, but I'm never watching a game thinking like, oh, get this guy off my TV. Like, I enjoy hearing them because it means that the SEC is on CBS on a Saturday afternoon.
Not anymore.
Not for long. 2 more seasons. What is the more legendary psychedelic sports moment? Aaron Rodgers taking ayahuasca before an MVP season, or Doc Ellis pitching a no-hitter on LSD in 1970? 88% say it is Doc Ellis, which is probably the correct answer. But what if it was Aaron Rodgers? What if it was during a game and coming off the field during a timeout, Matt LaFleur pulls him in? Hey, what'd you see out there, bud? We are but floating tetrahedrons in the sky, which has enveloped us and made us its home. Okay, all right, get back out there. Flings a 60-yard touchdown. Just pats on the helmet. All right, go on, get out there.
I just, it's not Gatorade in the squirt bottle. It's ayahuasca tea. He's just out there lit, playing MVP or playing quarterback at an MVP level. Unbelievable. Are those the polls?
Those are the polls.
Very good. That's the show. That's our show anyway. We're wrapping up here from Hattie B's on Charlotte Avenue. Make sure you stop by for lunch. 3HL got you during the dinner portion of your afternoon from 3 to 6, where they will be. Today, is Dawn back? Do we have any confirmation that Dawn is back?
Stop asking me questions I don't know the answer to.
Well, maybe no more answers to the questions, and you would go further in life. This is a test. At some point, I would expect you to have the information instead of just being like, I don't know.
I tell you what I would do. I would order hot chicken at Hattie B's if I got the chance.
Well, certainly. Perhaps, Lucas had a pretty good show today. Perhaps I'll bring him something back to the studio. Perhaps not. Who's to say? It's going to do it for us today. Blaine and Mickey got you covered. Coming up next.